One of the very first mods I ever made for Halo Reach when it came to PC was a flyable Unsc Frigate. Now at the time, I thought it was amazing, but then more recently, I created the flyable Covenant Cruiser. Link to that up above if you haven't seen that video yet. Now there was a ton of improvements that I was able to make from everything I learned in the months between these two ships, and I have learned a lot more even since the Covenant Cruiser. So today, not only am I going to recreate the Unsc Frigate flyable vehicle with tons of improvements, but I'm also going to be showing you another ship I've made, the Unsc Halcyon-class light cruiser, aka the Pillar of Autumn. And it turns out the Pillar of Autumn is equipped with not one Mac cannon, but 3. So without any further ado, let's jump into the space sandbox. So here we are once again on my space sandbox. We've got the same 3 big Covenant ships as before, and we've got a couple of UNSC ones this time around. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spawn in the all-new UNSC Frigate here. And if you notice on this list, there's a couple ships I haven't showed off yet, but I'll get around to them one of these days. Leave a comment if you want to see those. But here we are, the Unsc Frigate in all of its glory. When you hop on into it, the first thing you'll notice is, oh my, is this a working, completely custom camera that can orbit all the way around a massive ship? The answer to that is yes. When we hit forward, immediately you'll notice completely dynamic ship engine effects as they appeared in campaign, but now working as full-on vehicle engine effects, completely tied to your forward momentum. It is pretty nifty actually, and it looks great. I was very surprised with how this ship turned out. It's got some pretty sweet lens flares when you hit just on the right angle, and it is quite satisfying to fly, I have to say. This is actually quite a lot smaller than almost every other ship on this map. If I were to fly over to the cruiser over there, you will notice that I am basically the smallest ship on this entire massive space canvas. However, due to balancing reasons, I have added a lot more maneuverability to this frigate here in order to make it a much better combatant against these much larger and much stronger ships. Now, I promised Mac cannons, so I'm gonna get to that quickly. But right before I do, I wanna show off that this ship here has got a nice array of space turrets actually. They fire completely forward, and they are not the fastest projectile in the world, but if you can lead your shots, you're guaranteed to hit some ships. But of course, the Mac cannon is what we're all here for. So let's line up our shot at this frigate over here and do some damage. Oh yeah, you bet we're gonna go back into theater mode in a second and see that. Let me line up another good one, see if we can't hit our shot. Oh yeah, that shot actually passes through the frigate as well. If you notice, I'll fire, there'll be an explosion. You can't see it too well here. I'll show you in theater in a moment, but the Mac cannon does not stop at the frigate. It keeps on going. So overall, the frigate here is a rather simple ship to actually recreate, but the fact that Bungie left in so many cool assets like the engine effects, the lights, there's even a full physics model, highly detailed for this ship. It is really fantastic. Without a doubt, the Unsc Frigate here is the most fleshed out, most polished, and most realized ship out of the entire sandbox of ships that I've created so far. With the fully detailed physics model, all of the completely proper effects, and a complete set of weapons, I'd say that this thing is pretty nifty. If you remember, the Corvette in my last video was quite sluggish and turning was a pain. I have improved it since then, but I've made it so this here, the Unsc Paris frigate, is essentially really maneuverable, like a lot more maneuverable than the other ships. So you can get around and maneuver very easily with this compared to some of the other larger ships. And I'm pretty happy with how that turned out because this ship is not as powerful as the Halcyon frigate here. It doesn't have the triple Mac cannon setup. It's just got a single Mac cannon, and it's got just some regular old turrets. So let's go into theater mode real quick, check out this sweet Mac cannon, and then we'll hop on in to the Pillar of Autumn. So one thing I do want to point out here while we're in theater mode is that this frigate is full-sized. Here's the monitor. Here is the frigate. It can be kind of tricky to get a sense of scale of everything here because of how unbelievably monstrous these ships are in size, but this frigate is the proper size. So now we can see here the frigate in action from another camera angle. It's pretty sweet. as the engines light up and it goes. You can see it's got a bit of an acceleration to it. It can kind of drift as well, which is pretty sweet. But also you can see the turning capability on it is really, really crazy. It's very, very maneuverable, and it flies, and when it's not hitting invisible walls, pretty much how you'd expect it to. Compared to the Halcyon cruiser here, you can see that this frigate is pretty small, but like I said, it's balanced around that size. You'll notice as well, these turrets actually do fire from the proper turret points here, and it looks kind of cool. I removed all the other turrets off the frigate because I figured having back turrets and bottom turrets and stuff was pretty extra. But all right, let's see this MAC cannon. First in real time and then in slow motion. All right, let's see that again. Oh yeah. The MAC cannon fires and it destroys. This right here might just be the reason the Covenant lost the war. Master Chief's badass, but man, so is that MAC cannon. Okay, so we're back in Forge, and I want to show off the Halcyon cruiser, aka the Pillar of Autumn. So like most of these ships, it doesn't have a collision model, so when you spawn it in, it's so massive you'll be stuck right in the middle of it. But if we hop out and hold RB to pilot this cruiser, it will work exactly as you'd hope it would. Now there's a couple things I want to note about this ship. When I press forward, yes, there are beautiful, beautiful engine effects for this thing. But if you notice, there are the 2 big engines here and the 4 medium engines. And it's not super bright, but if I hit boost, all the small engines will light up and the lens flares will bloom. And I will start boosting at some very high speeds here. So this Halcyon cruiser, the Pillar of Autumn, does have fully functioning boost animations, which I really, really enjoy looking at. Separating it out and putting it as a boost here is so, so cool to me. I'm really, really happy with how that looks. Once again, I had to do a completely custom camera track, so you can actually see the ship you're flying. This is, if you ever go back and look at old Halo Reach mods, you'll notice that's something a lot of modders don't do. I'm not quite sure why. But a proper camera track, in my opinion, makes a world of difference. Actually being able to see the ship that you're flying is so, so important to me. So what weapons does this have? Well, of course, just like the Unsc Paris frigate over there, we have got turrets. You can't see them too well, but the turrets are in the exact spots they are on in the final campaign mission. I'll go in theater mode and show you what they look like, but essentially there is a whole massive array of Pillar of Autumn turrets on here. And in the game files, they are a separate vehicle from the frigate turret, so it's not just like a copy and paste. But much more importantly than that, we have got not 1, not 2, but 3 MAC barrels on this cruiser. So I'm going to very quickly try my best to aim at the only solid ship in this sandbox right now and take a shot. Woo. That is beautiful. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Now we are definitely going into theater mode for that because this ship is so massive and bulky, you can't really get a good look at it. Let's try to get a side shot here. Oh yeah, the triple MAC. That does about as much damage as you would expect it to. We're gonna get a nice up close shot of that here in a second, but before we hop into theater mode, this is what it's like to fly the Pillar of Autumn. If Bungie ever added it as a vehicle, it might just fly similarly to this with a camera position just like this. So if you've ever wanted to see it, here it is right here. Now, let's go hop into theater mode and see that triple MAC cannon in action. So here we can get a very nice view of the Pillar of Autumn flying. With the engines blasting out the back, I really, really love looking at this thing from the front because I've always loved the design of the Pillar of Autumn. It's such a cool looking ship. And not getting blinded by the engines the whole time is also very nice. But this thing is just so, so cool. So as you'll see here in a second, firing the main guns does have all the turret positionings in place, and everything does fire from the correct spot. And if you notice, even the turrets on the top and everything rotate with where you're looking, so you can see them moving there very subtly. They are fully equipped and fire properly. As you can see, they all fire one bullet instead of firing all at the same time to prevent a massive spam of projectiles. I've considered changing it, but for preventing it from being insanely overpowered, I've left it like that for now. All right, now it's time to watch the triple Mac barrel. Here we go. Ooh, the power in that, the absolute power in that. Now let's see, did we ever hit the frigate? No, we missed the frigate, unfortunately. The ships are pretty hard to aim. I have considered putting in some different ways of aiming this thing and getting better shots out of it, but it is a bit tough in any case to fire such a massive ship and have a proper targeting system. I do have some good ideas that I'd like to improve on in the future, and many of them will definitely make their way to the other ships that you may have sneaked a peek at on my Forge menu there earlier. So who knows? What kind of crazy features could a Covenant supercarrier have? We'll just have to wait and find out. But in any case, this has been the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, the Halcyon-class cruiser with the triple Mac cannons, and of course, the UNSC Frigate. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy my Halo mods, be sure to subscribe. Of course, a huge shout out to my patrons for always supporting my Halo mods and allowing me to do it as the only thing that I do. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.